If I could have everyone's attention, please, and ask those in the audience to have a seat. We would like to get started. I'd like to remind everyone that we audio and video record our meetings. To the board and our senior staff, if I could ask that when you have something to say on the record, you push your button till the red light is on, say what you have to say, and then push the button to turn it off. We have a limited number of active mics, so you have to shut off so someone can turn on. And we will be having a sign language interpreter here for members of our audience. They're running a couple of minutes behind, so please speak clearly so they can hear you and so they can interpret accurately. With that, I will turn it over to our Audit Committee Chairman, Patrick Durante.
Audit Committee will come to order. I'll ask the Secretary to call roll.
Director Anderson, Director Colson, Director Lewis.
Here.
Director DeWitt. Here. Director Melvin.
Here.
Director Pang. Here. Director Ross. Here. Director Durante.
Here.
We have a quorum of 7 present with 1 absent. If the record would also show that, is Director Buchanan on the line? Not yet. Okay. That Directors Fraga, Fuentes, Hobson, McGallis, Totten, Troiani, and Chairman Dillard are all also present.
Item 2 on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the meeting held on June 25, 2015. Are there any questions or comments? If not, motion by Director DeWitt, seconded by Director Lewis. Roll call.
Director Colson.
Aye.
Director DeWitt. Aye. Director Lewis.
Aye.
Director Melvin.
Aye.
Director Pang. Aye. Director Ross. Aye. Director Chairman Durante.
Aye.
7 ayes and 1 absent.
Item 3 on the agenda is the presentation of the 2016 audit plan. Mike?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and members of the board. I'm here this morning to present the 2016 audit plan, copies of which were provided to you in the board packet. I will provide a brief overview of the audit development process, including the update to the annual risk assessment, the resulting changes in our 5-year plan, and then cover the proposed 2016 plan. In 2011, a comprehensive system-wide risk assessment was performed. Based upon this risk assessment, a system-wide risk portfolio was developed, which included the top 20 risks. Based on those risks, they were mapped to specific audits, and a 5-year audit plan was developed and then approved by the board in February 2012. Annually, we update this risk assessment, starting with the prior year's audit results. Discussions are held with senior officials and internal audit directors at each of the service boards and any other data sources which we identify that indicates there's going to be changes. This would include items such as new systems that are going to be put in place, new processes, or changes in key personnel. For 2016, we started with the top 20 risks from the updated risk assessment that was completed last year. Based on our discussions in the review process, we identified any changes to the top 20 risks and determined the drivers for that change. We then looked at the original 5-year plan, which was updated each year, and evaluated the timing of the scheduled audits on that plan, and determined if the schedule should be changed based on factors or the drivers identified in the risk assessment update. For example, real estate and facilities, which was originally identified as a key risk, was designated for later review based on reduced risk factors. We also evaluated the amount of coverage each area in the original risk assessment received by either the RTA or the individual service board audit groups, and compared that to the original driver of the risk. For example, if a specific risk was primarily driven by a change, such as the mobile Ventra app, and both Metra and CTA had performed some audit testing around that new Ventra app and the procedures around it, then we would say that there was some audit activity which would reduce our risk in those areas. Based on these factors, we developed the 2016 audit plan. It includes several larger system-wide oversight reviews of key risk areas, as well as the grant closeout audits that are required to be completed at each of the service boards annually. It also includes internal audit activity of the RTA operations that's completed to meet the requirements of our internal policies and procedures. One item to note is that the grant closeout audits, which are required to be completed each year, these audits operate on a state fiscal year basis, so it covers 2 of our fiscal years. It runs from the July to the June timeframe. These audits are included in our professional services contract that is included on the board agenda later in this meeting. And each year we audit a sample of the grants which are completed, and these include grants at each of the service boards. It is typically more efficient for us to use a professional services firm with specialized government grant auditing experience to complete the grant audits than to complete them internally. That completes my prepared remarks. I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions or comments? Blake?
Yeah,
Director absent.
as far as this goes, I know that the PTC is not completed as yet, but is the plan that in the future the metro portion of PTC will be audited as well in terms of cybersecurity and that sort of thing?
Yes, so right now we've started the cybersecurity audit, but the PTC is in such an early stage that there's nothing for us to really look at this point. But cybersecurity continues to be one of the major risks that's very high in everyone's mind.
But
So
as,
it will
as
be.
PTC comes online in the next several years, that will be part of the cybersecurity audit?
Well, we would do a specific review just of that.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any, Director Colson?
Yeah, I have a question. Monitoring executive travel and stuff like that is nice, but it seems to me it pales next to potential risk we face with accumulating debt. And I think at the last meeting, we learned that 30-year loans for 12-year buses is just not sustainable long-term. Is the debt that the system is undertaking part of this audit, or should it be? It seems to me that's a huge risk we face going forward.
Yeah, the liquidity continues to be a risk that's on there. We don't have anything this year on the audit plan, but we can move that up if you would like us to include that, or we could even change this plan if you'd like something included in that.
Well, I think it ought to be on our radar. Maybe
Yeah,
not,
well, it
maybe
definitely
not
is on
now,
our
but
radar,
for the
right.
future, so we can
Okay.
avoid any potential issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Lewis?
Michael, I was very pleased to see our work on the contract compliance audit included in this year's schedule. My question is on the attachment. There's no elements in the projects reconciled to prior year plan. There are no elements in those boxes in terms of any steps. Is that just because it's new or because there are other things that are anticipated?
No, that's because it's new.
Okay, all right. So as we go forward, we'll see more steps as we take affirmative steps in that direction. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mike. Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn by Director Fuentes, seconded by Director Colson. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Who's next? Me. You are. Right, so thank you.
Good morning. I'd like to call the Planning and Administrative Committee